Trucking. Trucking, just in case you didn't catch that. Trucking. Uh, when I worked in Somerset, they sent me down with an old Guy, Guy, an old banger with 20 tons stone down to Torquay. So what, that bloody old thing. And going down a steep hill into Torquay, foot brake down to the floorboard, picking up speed. I thought, oh shit. And there was a grass bank, so I steered onto the grass bank and the tyres sunk into the grass bank and it stopped. Thank God for that. And I put it in first gear and crept off the grass bank and then kept it in first gear all the way down the hill, so the engine was holding the load back, and what bit of braking I got just kept occasionally touching the foot brake. Discharged a load of stone, and when I got back to the yard, the boss's wife were in there, and she was big, even bigger than Mavis. Talk about her, she's an Indian elephant. I'd say the boss's wife was an African elephant. Size of her arse, my God. If you could have a picnic on Mavis's arse, she could have had a banquet on her arse. It was enormous. True. And I told her what happened. She says, don't worry about it. I said, what do you mean don't worry about it? I said, that could have been serious. I said, anyway, the engine's knackered, it just won't pull. She says, it's a good engine, it pulls very well. I said, what? Couldn't pull my foreskin back. And she looked up over her glasses. Two drivers behind me walked away. And they said to me later, you shouldn't have said that to her. I said, well, why not? It's true. They said, well, it might be. But she didn't want to hear that. But you know what I'm like. I've always been the same. I just say what comes into my mind. So please don't anybody ever be offended. Look at it. Because that's it. I think it will be true to say I'm a loose cannon. And in the yard, these long articulated vehicles that I used to drive, uh, you know, if there's not a lot of room to turn around, you do a tight screw turn, and the back end of the trailer goes backwards. And I did a tight, what we call a screw turn in the yard, and something was holding it back, and I dropped a gear, and the boss's daughter came running out. Arthur, you're pulling the office down. The trailer went back and hooked under the office, under the eaves, is it? And they were pulling the fucking office down. And I better not mention locations here. I think I've mentioned this, but it must have been a long time ago. I couldn't find a customer once, and I drove up this long road searching for it one evening around about 6 or 7 o'clock in the summer, so it was still light. And I got to the top of the road, it was a cul-de-sac. I thought, oh my God, there was no way I could have reversed out. You know, I mean, I knew what I was doing when reversing articulated vehicles, but I couldn't reverse all the way down that road. So I had to do a screw turn. Yeah. And it was a flat trailer, and there's all hooks down the side where when you put a load on and throw ropes over, where you tie the knots. I used to do the famous knot, you know, what they call it. Well, I knew what I was doing. I taught it Andrew. And the hitch knot. And I did this tight screw turn. And once again, you know, I straightened up and it was pulling, so I dropped a gear and just pulled forward, and then it broke free. And I drove all the way down this long road, and at the bottom of it, I went round the back and looked, and one of the hooks on the back was out straight, and the registration plate had gone. I thought, oh no, so I ran. Of course, in those days, you know, I was young, fit and healthy. I ran all the way back up this road, and at the top where I'd done the screw turn, the fencing, you know, thick wire fencing on concrete posts, I pulled the fucking lot down. And there in the middle was my registration plate. Of course, I'm going back a long time now, and I grabbed the plate and ran. You know, I thought, get out of here quick. And I got back to the yard, and the fitter, Jim, But what happened there? I says, I don't know, Jim. He says, you fucking liar. He hooked on something, didn't he? I said, he might have done, but of course we never heard anything else about it. And then another time I left this scrapyard, and then the fog was dense. It was bad. And another time going, and I was heading down for this main road, and the blokes in the scrapyard said, keep going down there, Arthur, because I used to load from there regular. When you see the phone box, turn right. So I drove down, got a full load of scrap on, 24 ton, loaded up to 44 ton on the long articulated vehicle, and I saw the phone box, so I turned right. Drove down, looked on the left, I could see flower beds. Looked on the right, I could see flower beds. Again, I thought, oh, this is not the main road. And I stopped and got out. It was the fucking library car park. And I got this very heavy load on. The fog was that dense, I couldn't have reversed out. No. So, I thought there's nothing else for it. It's going to have to be a screw turn. And when you've got a heavy load on, when you do a very tight screw turn, the trailer goes sideways and the tyres, they dig in. And of course in libraries they have a thin layer of tarmac, don't they, because there's only cars parked on it. And I did the tight screw turn and the wheels were skidding on the back of the unit, and I dropped it in first gear. I thought, come on, and flowers are flying everywhere, driving through the flower beds. And I got out on the main road. I thought, thank God for that. And I walked back in the library car park. It looked like a fucking battlefield. All the tarmacs churned up, the flower beds, dirty great tyre marks through them. And I thought, oh well. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. So I just drove off. I've got away with a hell of a lot during the years I drove trucks. Yeah, and I can remember all these things, as I say, in great detail. I have mentioned this before, I think. Yeah, I have, but worth mentioning again. The boss's daughter who came running out, oh, if you're pulling the office down. I pulled up in the yard in my brand new Scania, and it was early on a Friday, and I thought I'll get home early. Oh, take that truck there, another old guy, GUI, put 20 ton of stone on it, take it down to this local customer. I said, what bloody hell, oh come on Arthur, don't give me a hard time, because she was running the job and she used to flap. If things went wrong, she would burst into tears. So I drove out the gates of our yard, turned left directly into the quarry on the side of the Mendip Hills down in Somerset. Drove up past the two weighbridges up to the top of the hill, put 20 ton of stone on this old banger, drove back down the hill towards the weighbridges, foot brake down to the floorboard, and the fucking brakes failed. I thought, oh my God. And I sat under the horn and put the lights on, and everybody in the weighbridge just looked up and saw this old banger coming hurtling down this hill, and they all ran. And fortunately they put a sandpit in between the two weighbridges for runaway vehicles, and I steered it into the sandpit, and thank God it stopped. Ooh. I didn't have to jump out of the car because it sunk that far into the sand. I just stepped out and tottered down to our yard. And she sat there. I told her what had happened. I'd put it in the sandpit because the brakes failed. She says, oh dear Arthur, the customer's waiting for that load. Did you have to put it in the sandpit? Couldn't you have come round? I says, well, I could have done, Amanda. I'd have gone past the yard and doing about 90 bloody mile an hour. And she laughed. So it's not funny. And of course they had to get a huge caterpillar thing down from the quarry to pull the truck out. And you know, they used the bar and got it back into our yard. And next morning the boss was not happy. He says, oh, what happened yesterday then? So brakes failed me. He says, well, didn't you hear the warning buzzer? I said, it didn't work, mate. Well, didn't you see the warning light? I said, it didn't work, mate. Well, the actuators, when the air pressure goes down, it locks the brakes on. I said, it didn't work, mate. He said, bloody performance. I've got to pay for that cat coming down. So what the fucking hell was I supposed to do, Mick? Best thing you do is put anchor in there. Next time I I'll throw the fucking anchor out. And I walked away from him. He says, hey, hey. I said, I've had enough of this. I'm not being blamed for something. It's not my fault. Fucking thing. Got no brakes. That could have been the truck I had down in Torquay. And I said, I'm going home. And I walked over to my car. Oh no. He said, hang on, don't be hasty. Because he could never get hold of drivers to drive his old bangers. And he persuaded me not to. So I said, well, how about a rise then? He said, don't push your luck. Yeah, so I've got an excellent memory, and it's gone on for long. It's gone on for too long. And as I said, yeah, I've washed the pots, but I ain't taken my shower yet. I'm going up the chippy later on my scooter for us, for 2 or 3 of us here. Right, that's it. Let me go and have my shower. At least I've washed the pots. Right. What day is it? Thursday, the 21st. Yeah, easy day today. Right, cheers.